Hi everyone. Today we're going to be working on a very old California juniper that I acquired from a collection of an older club member who was no longer able to take care of it. This tree was collected a lot of years ago, and since then not much has really been done with it. You can see where someone attempted to wire one of the branches, and that branch unfortunately later died, and that's the biggest problem with this tree right now, is that its health is somewhat compromised. The other thing I want to point out before we start working on this tree is that it is in a very old and quite valuable tokoname ware pot. And later on, after we take it out of the pot, I'll show you the hash marks on the bottom of the pot. The original owner of this tree brought this pot from Japan, and unfortunately since then the tree's been watered with an automatic sprinkler system, and that's the reason why we have a lot of hard water lime deposits on the pot. Now, the only way to fix that is to soak the pot in a muriatic acid solution, and we can't have the tree in the pot while we do that. So for the sake of the tree and the pot, today we're going to pull the tree out of this pot and put it in the plastic training pot that I have right over here on this side of the table. Now, this is a very cheap plastic training pot, and it's obviously been used before for other trees. What makes it perfect for this application is that its dimensions in terms of width and length are almost exactly the same as the pot the tree's coming out of. It is a little bit deeper, but that's going to be good for the tree because that will help the tree regain its health. So let's very carefully get started on this tree and see if we can get it out of the pot without too much trouble or trauma here. I'm just going to try to very gently rock it. And what I'm finding out here is that it is in that pot really good. We've worked all the way around the edges of the soil with a trowel and separated it from the inside of the pot. Unfortunately, this soil has gone so silty and so gloppy that it is really stuck to the inner part of the pot. Now, the roots may also be entangled on a drainage screen at the bottom. I don't know about that yet. So we're going to take another try at this. This definitely isn't coming up like one of mine. So we've got to be very careful here. Okay, we've got a root ball here that has some cohesion to it. Get this over here in the gardening cart. Then let's take a look at that pot for a minute, now that we've got the tree settled into a place of safety. Okay, we do have a couple of drainage screens. The old soil does have some decomposed granite, so it's not that bad. Now let's have a look at this pot. It's really hard to see because of all the lime here, but you can see this mark here is the mark of the kiln, and these other marks in the clay up here are the marks of the artist. And that means this is a really high quality, really valuable old Japanese pot. So we'll take this and we'll set it aside very carefully. And then later we're going to soak this in a muriatic acid solution, try to get rid of all the hard water lime, restore it to its former glory. We've managed to get all of the old soil and weeds out of the tree's root ball, and as I feared, there are some signs of root rot here, so we're going to have to be very careful with this tree. Now I'm going to carefully trim away the overly long stuff. The lighter colored roots don't belong to the juniper, they belong to the weeds that were in here with it. So we can cut those away without being afraid of anything. The dark roots are the juniper roots, the red ones are healthy, and the darker ones not so much. That's a weed root there, so I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, this is about all the trimming that we need to do on this root ball. So we're going to set it back there in the water to keep it nice and moist, and now we're going to prep the new pot. Now this is a plastic training pot, so we're not really going to do much except make sure that it gets really good soil and lots of it. And this is a 3-part mix here. This is organic component, and it's been kept in a dark and somewhat moist storage bin in order to foster a growth of beneficial fungus. And then together with that, we've got decomposed granite and pumice. And I've gone a bit heavy on the decomposed granite and the pumice because I knew that this tree had not been repotted in a long time, and I knew it was going to have health issues. Here's some of our organics, and the white flecks you can see are the beneficial fungus that's going to help this juniper and restore it back to the same robust health that you saw in the other California juniper that was featured in the previous video. All that remains now that the tree has been settled into the new pot is to backfill the soil around it. Now we can see this tree wants to be healthy. It's pushing new roots straight out of the trunk right up here near the base of the soil, and that's actually a very good sign. It tells me that if I give it good free draining soil with some nutrients, it's going to do very well. So I'm expecting that with this pot and this soil, this tree should start pushing really good growth in a very short time. So we'll just keep filling in around it. Now we're not going to work on the foliage today, and there's a special reason for that. With California junipers, one of the important ways that they get their moisture is by absorbing it through the soil. When they get moist nights or evenings or dew or fog or whatever, then they pick up the moisture through the soil. So on an unhealthy California juniper, it is very, very important not to cut back the foliage, because the foliage is often the key to the tree regaining its health. Now this tree is just emerging from dormancy. You can see the foliage tips are starting to turn bright green, but unlike my other one, it's not pushing any kind of strong growth. And like I said, seeing that plus the deplorable condition that the soil was in, I knew that this had to be done. Now for those of you who are looking for a transformation of this tree, don't worry too much. These things recover fairly quickly. It may be possible later this spring, early this summer, and if not, then certainly by the spring of 2014. We'll just add a little bit more soil in here because it's going to compact down a bit when we water it. Okay, that should be enough to keep this tree happy. So let's take it over to the hose and water it. You'll see that just putting water on it seems to make it brighter green. That's the absorption mechanism in action. This is a large, deep container, so we're probably going to have to go for a bit before we get water running out the bottom, and before we know that the moisture's gone all the way through and that this tree has got what it needs to survive until the root pad improves and until it becomes healthy enough to be worked on. Here is our California juniper, happily situated in its new pot. So we'll do a slow 360 here and show you what it looks like now, although I haven't really done much of anything to the foliage except clean out dead leaves and just kind of get rid of all the weeds and everything. Now, the tree does have a lot of interesting styling possibilities, mainly thanks to the deadwood. And once it's healthy, we will most assuredly address that. As for that beautiful Tokonami ware pot, it's right over here in this large tub to my right, getting an acid bath, and hopefully when it comes out, it will not only no longer have any hard water lime on it, but will look new enough to complement the restyled tree. So, this is our rescued California juniper. Thank you for watching, folks.